Now, a little comment down here. People are just loath to pay the government any money at all. Like, probate means that you are going to pay a percentage of your estate to the government in fees for doing court documents and paperwork, and just, they're there and you're gone, so they want to make a fee off of that. That's just kind of the way it is. And the way the economy is going, and this is January 2010, we're in for a vicious economic down cycle, and it began in 2008, and it's got really an awful long way to go. The U.S. is just basically crumbling right before your eyes. If you want to get a sense of what happened in the days when the Roman Empire was so powerful, and how did they actually get defeated, well, they were defeated by themselves first before their enemies came and conquered them, and that's exactly what's happening to the U.S. So it's really like watching history repeat. So this issue about probate, one of the ways to avoid that is leave things to people direct. A husband can leave property direct to a spouse. Bank accounts can be left direct to a spouse. Stock portfolios, cottage property, and then when the spouse passes away, then you would have a tax issue that you're going to have to deal with. There was a fascinating ad that was on TV for quite some time. I haven't seen it for a year or so. Family north of Toronto, they have a cottage, husband and wife, and they're thinking, what are we going to do? Because when both of them pass away, then if the husband dies, which we tend to do first, so just be patient, ladies, the cottage would then pass to the spouse, fine. But when the spouse passes away, because cottage property had gone up so much, there's going to be massive capital gains tax owing on that property transfer. From the husband dies, goes to the spouse tax-free as a rollover, and then when it goes to the kids, there's big tax owing. So the idea was that, well, why don't we just get insurance to cover what the tax burden would be, and you can get a rough idea by working out your adjusted cost base and capital gains tax rates. And the father said, well, gee, I can't afford to pay that. But the premise of the commercial was, let the kids pay, because they're going to be the ones that are going to benefit by getting it. And that makes sense, because the kids are working, they're going to get that asset. Let them support the insurance to help make sure that'll be a tax-free transfer when that day arrives. Like any plan, a very good idea, by the way, when you're planning anything of importance, is a term called POIC, P-O-I-C, and that is plan, organize, implement, control. Even though you have your estate plan, and even though you've made your will, life is not going to stay the same. Things evolve, things change. You may have another child. I leave my insurance and all my worldly possessions to my child, but then comes another child. I kind of think you should add the other child in. I mean, there are certain legal protections when there's a second child anyways, because of support for a child while they're growing up and attending school. These are common things, but it's, things can change. Divorce, half the people that get married divorce. Kind of makes you wonder about the institution of marriage anyways. Maybe it was never meant to be. Pretty good business for the lawyers, I must say. So that's a big issue. There could be kids in a second home, and let me just give you a simple example, and this is a separate topic that you could go on for days. Two people get together and they decide to live together. They're not officially married, they're kind of living common law. Common law, they have limited rights, but the rights they have are growing now, and I think they're, in the end, they're probably going to have basically the same rights as a spouse. And the big issue is the lady has 2 kids from a previous marriage. You're now an acting parent for those 2 kids, and you can be held liable to support them for their schooling. So this is not a joke, and people have to be aware of these things. One of the things I find very lacking, and it's a little bit disturbing, that people are allowed to get into something without realizing the financial implications if they do. And it would be very easy for the government to say, okay, look, Tom and Sally, you want to get together? Here's a course, you must take this course, and we are going to explain the problems. It's almost like some parts of our system do not want people to know the problems, because they're going to make a lot of money solving those problems later. And this is a little bit disturbing to me, that our system has got a lot of benefits, but it's got some pretty serious limitations as well. Health can change, disability. You know, you could be an employee having a great job, say at Nortel back in the year 2000. Well, they're bankrupt now, so maybe you don't have that job. Maybe you don't have those pension benefits and insurance benefits. You may start a new job and now you've got more insurance than you thought. So there's so many little things that can change. If it's a material change important, you have to update your will or your estate plan. If it's kind of minor changes, maybe once a year, just do an update. There's a term called codicil, which we'll come to somewhere along the way, C-O-D-I-C-I-L. That's where your will stays the same and you just make a little amendment. I have a new child, this is the name of the child, and they will share equally in the distribution of my assets, just as an example. I just want to make a quick comment. I think I just have a minute left on this side of the video. When you're talking about documents and where you keep them, it's really important, like, where do you keep them? Are they in a safety deposit box? Who has access to it? If you keep them at home, what if there's a fire? Or what if somebody breaks into the house and they steal it? Do you have a backup copy? Where is the backup copy? It's probably not a bad idea if you give your will to your executor beforehand, or they know exactly where it is and that person lives within a reasonable proximity to you, so when they need to find these things, they're going to be able to find them. If it's in your home, is it in a fireproof container? That's important, because if there's a fire, obviously a lot of important documents are not going to be able to be found. But, you know, I'm hoping that, you know, as we kind of go along, maybe you're going to get a sense of how to go about doing this. Now, joint tenancy is probably very easy, very efficient way that if you have two people and one person passes away, the ownership in that asset passes to the other. There are a few possible complications. Let me give you an example. You have a business. Two brothers are in the business. One brother dies. The other brother, who is alive now, has that business, but don't you think they should have something there, maybe by way of a buy-sell agreement, that the brother who died, there would be enough life insurance to give the family to compensate them for the brother's interest in the business? The key thing is, you don't want, if brother A and B dies, you don't want B's family to come in and then half ownership, but they have no idea how to run the business. And in fact, let's assume it was an engineering consulting business, they may not even be qualified to be in the business. But that's another day and another topic when you get into buy-sell agreements. This can be for property, bank account, GIC, cottage, you know, so many things. It's a fairly straightforward way to transfer ownership. Where you get complicated is when you have family members below who feel they should have some part of that asset, and where's their compensation? So they may not agree, and then they're going to file an objection, and then, you know, off to court you go, and then you'll try and figure things out. But if it's done properly and it's witnessed properly, and you've thought it out and you've got legal advice, then if that's what you want, then that should be pretty much your final wish. Hopefully the court would tend to agree with that.